You're on. Okay. So what we're going to do today is we are actually going to come up with a formula to be able to find out, if I give you the first three terms, give me the 800th term. Or what if I give you the first couple terms and say the last term, which is way down here, and I ask how many terms are there? Now right now many of you would just do it a whole bunch of times till you got there. Well, if it's 70, 80 terms away, you're into a little bit of work, right? So let's try and get out of all the work. So what's the kind of goal of 20-1 and 30-1 is finding ways to be more efficient, okay? Quicker and more accurate. Because when you're doing that 60 times, there is a high chance you'll make an error in one of those. The more steps you do, the actually higher the chance of error, which I guess makes sense, right? The more you do, the more chance to have errors. Now, so let's talk about arithmetic sequences. Now, that's why the quizzes are kind of nice, because I think everybody right now knows what an arithmetic sequence is. We just did one in our quiz, okay? And it's a number that they're always different by the same constant. So we're always adding a constant. Do you see it doesn't say adding or subtracting. It's adding a constant which is either positive or negative. Okay? Now, just looking at this, can anybody tell me the way their brain worked to find the D, the difference? How did anyone find the difference? What did they do? Okay, explain the math to me. How do you find the difference here? Yeah? Okay. So just using 7 and 10, how do you find the answer 3? You went 10. Would you go 7 minus 10? 10 minus 7. You see that? Now, did any of you do it a couple of them to make sure? You should always do that, okay? Because if I'm going to ask you if it's arithmetic or geometric, just don't go with the first two. See if it works again somewhere else. And do you see that if I was here, 10 minus 7 is 3. 13 minus 10 is 3. 16 minus 13 is definitely 3 again. So I would know that one is 3. Now, you see, to find the D, you could go T2 minus T1, right? Now, what does T2 mean? Term 2, or the second term, okay? You could also went T3 minus T2, right? Or T4 minus T3. Now, so there's a common difference between successive terms. And what does successive means? One that follows the other one. Okay? Now, what would be a nice formula if, I'm just going to do it, what if this was Tn minus, what would the next number be? Or the next term? T, no, we can be more specific. No. Closer. But if this was 4, this would be 3. So if that's n, the other one would be n minus 1. Right? Do you see how it's always one less? Not one more. And this would equal D. And D is the common difference. Okay? So here's the formula in nice tight print, okay? The common difference is Tn minus 1. Now I know that looks complicated. Well, why can't you just say like it's 13 minus 10? Okay? Well, because there isn't a 13 and 10 in all of them, but there is always a Tn and a Tn minus 1. Always. I don't care if you gave me the 29th term, I would go, okay, the 29th term minus the 28th term. Okay? So, in this one here, what would be the common difference? -3, right? If this was a multiple choice test, and be honest, and you're making the multiple choice test, one of them you would have to put as -3, obviously. What's the other one you would put on there to draw lots of people to it? 3. Now, math multiple choice are never, the other ones are never accidents, okay? They are done wrong every possible way, and then the answers are written down, okay? So they don't just, okay, write down like, I don't know, spread it around, BC, get the right answers in there, and then we'll make up other ones for the other ones. We'll just pick numbers out of anywhere and put them in there. No. Question is done 4 times. 3 times wrong, and we know the mistakes you guys are making, so we put those in there to make sure the people that are getting 100 on the test know the actual answers, right? Okay. Now, we're not going to do example 1. It's pretty simple, but just to review, please, these are things that you need to know very well, okay? You need to know that the first term, the variable for it is T1 or A. Remember that? Okay, no, that should be on your study sheet. And what is the common difference? Will always be given the letter D. Okay, so you're starting to learn all your variables now. Okay, so let's just do example 3. It says find A and D for each one of this. So example 1, A is -8. D is +6. Okay, do the math. Now maybe you don't like doing, yeah, it's 10, right? Okay, you should be doing 2 minus -8 or 12 minus 2. Okay, so that's just A and D. Okay, we don't want to beat that to death. I think you guys know what A and D are now. A, first one. A is the same thing as T1, and D is that common difference between them, okay? Now, what's the goal today? The goal today is for me to give you beginning of the sequence and you telling me what the 80th term would be, or if I gave you the 80th term and the first term, okay, could you find any in between? Okay, so there's a lot of things I can ask here if you know what's going on. Now, we have to come up with a way to be able to find the 80th to 50th a lot quicker than just counting them. So let's use this example here. If we had this example, now, what is this thing called? I just circled it there. This is A, right? So, does everybody agree with this statement? T1 equals A, which is 2. Now, how would you find T2? Add 10. So, could you take A and just add D to it, which is the same thing as 2 plus 10? Okay? You see that T2 is always A plus D. How do you find T3? If I just gave you the first number and the difference, how could you find T3? Not squared. Yeah, you would go A plus 2D. Very good. Okay? Now, the fourth term would be A plus 3D. Okay, now, the million-dollar question, Tn. I want you to think about it. How do you find Tn? Look at the pattern, you guys. Does anybody see a pattern when you're finding T1, T2, T3? Yes? Close. Close, close, close. This stands for the nth term. The n stands for the number. So it would be a plus n minus 1 d. So not tn minus 1, but I know what you're saying. Okay? So you see that over here, whatever this was, that was always 1 less. So whatever this is, this will always be 1 less, okay? So if I just asked, what is the formula to find the 25th term? Can anybody tell me the formula to find the 25th term? What would it be? Yes? What's 25 minus 1? 24. So what's the formula? A plus 24d. To find the 25th term, a plus 24d. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so you can even write that down. T25 would equal a plus 24d. Now, if I know a and I know d, could I find it quite easy? Yep, I'll just put it in the formula and then I'd be good to go. Well, let's try that out. Okay, so let's go to the next page here. I think it's kind of important to go, well, how am I going to use this? Like, what do I need it for, right? So let's do an example that I think would show the benefit of this form. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to determine the formula for this. Now, right away you're going, but it didn't ask us for which term, whatever. It doesn't matter. We still get the formula. Now, I don't know about you, but it's really hard going looking for something when I don't know what I'm looking for. Okay? It is probably impossible. So I know some of you guys do that all the time. You're like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. I'm like, well, what's the formula? Okay, well, that's easy. So then they write it down. Okay? So Tn equals a plus n minus 1d. Now, I need you to go looking for all of these right now. And if you don't know what they are, just leave them as just a variable. Now, do I know the nth term? Like, do I know the 50th term or whatever? No, I don't. Okay? So right now, Tn, I don't know. Do I know A? What is it? So negative 6 plus. Do I know N? No. Do I know D? D is 5. Very good. Now, how is this helpful? You can see in B where it's going to be very helpful. When it says find the 12th term, I'll put 12 in for which one of those variables? N. And I will get the 12th term. Okay? Now, this is the formula, but if this was a multiple choice question and I just said find the formula, you will not see that in any of the answers because it's not simplified. So after you do this, you have to simplify, okay? That means you don't have all the apples with the apples and the oranges with the oranges. You have to do that. So what this 5 is doing, see this 5 over here? It is right beside brackets. When it's right beside brackets, it means it is multiplying, okay? So I'm going to multiply it to both of those. So Tn equals negative 6 plus 5n minus 5. See how the 5 got multiplied to the n, the 5 got multiplied to the negative 1. Everyone with me there? Now, is it simplified totally right now? I can get the negative 6 and the negative 5 together, right? So Tn equals 5n minus 11. That is your simplified formula. That would be in the multiple choice, A, B, C, or D. Okay? Now this is the machine that makes that sequence. Okay? It is unique to that sequence. Probably the rest of this year you will not get Tn equals 5n minus 11 unless I gave you this question again. Okay? That is unique to this. This will help me find the first term. Do you see if I put a 1 in there? What's 5 minus 11? Negative 6, right? That gives me my first one. So it works. Test it out. People are like, well, how am I supposed to know if this is the right one? Test it out. Put a 2 in there. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 11 is negative 1. Is the second term negative 1? Yes, it is. Okay? So now, let's find the 12th term. Now, some of you are thinking, man, I would have just done it. Like, just do it. Why did you have to do a formula and everything like that? You know, the 12th term, that's a good argument. The 50th term, I'd beat you pretty bad, though. Okay? I could figure this. I could go and walk around the school and come back, and I could still beat you by using this formula. Okay? So, by counting by 5s every time, adding 5, very slow, a lot of chance for error, and, you know, it's pretty laborious, right? So let's find the 12th term. Well, this is what that means. Oops, 15 doesn't make sense. T12 equals, that's the 12th term. I'll find the 12th term. Now, do you see how I took n and replaced it with 12? That means I'm going to take the other n and replace it with 12. So that's 5 times 12 minus 11. So what is the 12th term? T12 equals 50 minus 11 is 49. The 12th term is 49. Okay? Now, where else is this also valuable? For this one here. Find the number of terms in 3, negative 1, negative 5, negative 117. In other words, there's a lot of them in between. How many? Find how many are in there. This is a lot of work, unless you know the formula. Now, let's write down the formula. What is the general formula? Anyone remember? T n equals. Okay. Now I want you to look on your formula sheet. Is this on there? Yep. But it gives two formulas. What's the other one to know? Tn equals T1 plus n minus 1d. Does this make sense, that second formula? Why? Because A equals T1. I think it's very funny that they put that on your formula sheet. But maybe there's some math students out there that are like, I don't know, I'll use this one or this one today. I don't know how it's going to work. But I think if you know that A equals T1, that's why they're the same formula. Now, remember, if you're going to go looking for stuff, know what you're looking for. Okay? And in real life, that sounds like the stupidest thing ever. Well, why would you go looking for something you don't even know what you're looking for? It happens in math all the time, though. And I'm like, well, you guys don't even know what you're looking for. You haven't written the formula down. So let's just go across. Now, this is where this has a little bit of a, you got to know how to do this, so most people wouldn't get this right using the formula. But do we know Tn? In this case, Tn is going to stand for the last number, because that's the Tnth number. Do I know n of it? No, it's weird. I know what the number is, but I don't know what, is it the 50th, the 20th? So I don't know the n, but I know the Tn. Okay? So Tn is actually negative 117. I'm just going to do an inventory now. Do I know A? A is? Do I know D? What is it? Negative 4. Do I know N? Okay, now I know what to go look for at least. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my formula. negative 117 equals 3 plus n minus 1 times negative 4. Now, when you have one unknown in a formula, then you're doing good. When you have two unknowns in a formula, that sucks, right? Because, well, I can't go find two. I just got to find n. And once I find n, I'm done. Because n stands for number of terms, right? And hopefully, when you write, who's kicking my? When you write your study sheet, make sure you list all your variables. This is what Tn equals. This is what n equals. This is what. It is so nice in 5 months from now when you read your sheet over and you're like, oh yeah, right, yeah, that's right. T1 equals A. I remember that. Oh yeah, don't use division. Don't use subtraction. That's right. I remember that again. Like it comes back to you fast. And like I tried to tell the other class, if you were to not do study sheets throughout the year, and at the end of the year you have to study this book, you're probably going to start making study sheets. And I guarantee you, it'll probably take you an hour and a half per unit. Okay? You start doing the math with 8 units. And it is an overwhelming task at the end. Spend 10 minutes a day, which adds up the same amount of time, but it has two advantages. A, it is done when it's final exam time, and B, you got to use it with your quizzes the whole time. Okay, so don't leave it all for the end of the year, because either you'll do that or you'll just fail, right? Now, what can I do for math? The first thing I can do is I can bring this in, okay? So negative 117 equals 3 minus 4n plus 4. Okay? Now I can get these two guys together. Negative 117 equals 3 plus 4 is 7 minus 4n. Okay? Now I want to get all the numbers and variables separated, right? So I am now going to get rid of this 7 here. What would I do? So minus 7 to both sides. Okay, and I will get negative 124 equals negative 4n. Then when I divide both sides by negative 4, I get 31 equals n. Now is that, how would I know? What's an answer that I would know is for sure wrong? Decimals and negatives. A decimal and negative, you did it wrong for sure. But I get students that like, that's where I got negative like 12. And I go, we can't have negative 12 terms, so something went wrong. Oh yeah, you forgot your negative sign over here, and if you would have divided it out, okay? So you got to look for a nice number. There are 31 terms. Now, I could give you guys this as a project to do in one period. Not that I would give you the formula. I would give you 3, negative 1, and negative 117, and I would have you race, and probably it would take you most of the period to do that question by like doing it all, counting it out, okay? You know, and you know, maybe I'd make it have an 85 terms or something, right? If I really want to fill up a period and want to go hang around the halls or what, you know. So, but you can see, no matter what number you're given now, it takes the same amount of time. Okay, the next thing is arithmetic means. Now, you have probably thought of a mean as the middle, right? You know, average. In this case, it means all the things in the middle. There could be 20 things in the middle, okay? So place 3 arithmetic means between negative 4 and 8. Now, some of you guys are visual learners, some of you guys are auditory learners. So the auditory, you can just think about it. Place 3 arithmetic means between negative 4 and 8. But for those people that are visual, this is what this means. Negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 8. That's what this question means. Okay? Anyone have any idea what those are? Yep? Good. Okay? So you could do that just by looking at it. Okay? Where I could make this one harder on the test is if I put like 18 blanks in there, and the blood pressures might go up a little bit more on the students, right? But you can see, I don't know how many times I have students that could say, I just did it in my head. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're going, well, yeah, you got to show your work, got to do all this, the whole thing. But, you know, a big chunk of a test is multiple choice, right? So, hey, if you're doing it in your head, nothing wrong with that, right? But maybe the written response, you'd want to humor me, show some work, right? So I could actually mark your written response. But this is what I'm looking for. Now, when in doubt, write down the formula, because you're looking at this, and you know what? When some people give the answer, they're like, oh, I'm even more confused. How do they get that? Okay? Well, write down the formula. What's our formula? Tn equals a plus n minus 1d. Now, do we know Tn? Do we know the last term? More specifically, we know T5, right? T5 equals 8. Because this is T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, right? Now, oops, so I should just, oh yeah, if we're doing an inventory, let's do that. We got T5 equals 8. What else? Do I know A? Negative 4. Do I know N? 5 terms, right? Do I know D? If I had D, would that help me? Yeah, it would, right? So D is what's stopping me right now from just knowing the answer. So, how do we do this? Okay, well, plug everything in. How do I know? Because look, T5. Right? Okay, so 8 equals negative 4 plus, well, I'm going to just put this in, 5 minus 1 times D, okay? Even if I put a 4 there, I lose some people. 4, where'd you get a 4 from? That's 5 minus 1. Oh, okay. But then I could just render that and put 5 minus 1 in the first place. 8 equals negative 4 plus 4D, okay? So I don't like to skip steps because I just lose some students, so it's not worth it, right? Now, what do I got to do to start solving for D? Add the 4 to both sides, okay? So that would be 12 equals 4D. Divide by 4, divide by 4. 3 equals D. Now, what does that mean? That means that I'm going to go like this, 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 and this, and I'm going to add 3, add 3, add 3, add 3, and I will get my numbers. So that's where I get my negative 1. Plus 3 is 2. 3 is 5. And hopefully it gets you 8 again, right? Or you did something wrong. Does that make sense? Okay. So write down the formula, find out what you got to know. Now, example 6 would be kind of on the lower difficulty scale. Example 7, you guys put good examples on your study sheet. What do good examples do? They will have the whole, like, all the ideas in there, and you can write the ideas. But I would give you something like example 7 on a test. Why? Because my students that don't know how to work with A and D are not going to get these. And how do they come to the test? How do they get to that? I'm going to put one of these in the quiz tomorrow. Okay? Ooh, big secret, right? No, it's not a secret. There'll be one of these on the test, okay? And I know that I'm going to have students that are going to get wrong and go, Mr. I don't know how to do these. And I, did you know how to do them yesterday? No, I didn't know how to do them yesterday, so I should ask. At least the last class I had people coming up asking questions, okay? It was good. They are more concerned about their math mark than how they look to others, which is the way it should be. Here are 3 terms. X plus 2, 3x minus 1, and 2x plus 1. Those are the 3 terms. Now, if you found x, do you see how it would give you the three terms? Does anybody have any idea what the three terms are? Just by looking at that. Just by guessing and testing. Okay. Now, let's start. Often students are like, I don't even know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I said, well, start. Do something, right? Draw a picture of a doghouse. I mean, whatever. Do something. So, what do we know about this? Well, like, I'm not going too far on the edge if I say that this is T1 and this is T2 and this is T3. Okay? You know, if I said, well, write that down, people go, duh, I know that. That's easy. Well, I go, well, just write it down. Okay? Now, what is the same thing between these two as these two? What is that thing that is the same between those two? No, between them. They all have x in them. What is the same in between the terms? The difference. Do they not have a common d in there? Or else they are not arithmetic sequences. Right? So, is it safe to say that d equals t2 minus t1? Is that a true statement? Is it true to say that d equals t3 minus t2? Okay, so is it fair to say then t2 minus t1 should equal t3 minus t2? Okay, so that's the statement that you got to know. Because if you know that, you're going to be able to move on from there. Okay, you're going to be able to do this. Because what is t2? Well, it's 3x plus 1. Right, that's t2. Look up above. I labeled it t2. What is t1? Well, minus x plus 2. Did you see how I did brackets? Always do brackets because that minus sign will really mess with you if you don't. Okay, I know t3. It's 2x plus 1. Minus, what's t2? 3x minus 1. Now, at any point I'm doing this and you disagree with what I'm doing, just put up your hand and go, I don't see how that works. Because if you don't see how that works, then I gotta be able to show you how, right? Now, I'm just gonna do algebra. And you guys have done these since like grade 8, grade 9, okay? Remember, there is a minus 1 in front of there. So that has to get distributed. So it's going to be 3x plus 1 minus x minus 2. You see how that had to go to both of them? And that is one of the biggest mistakes in mathematics, when the negative does not get distributed. That negative has to go to both of them. Equals 2x plus 1 minus 3x plus 1. You see that? Yep. Oh, there you go. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Now, do you see why the solutions are really nice to have? Because if you just forgot to distribute that one negative, you will get this wrong. And how are you supposed to find it? Well, you have the solutions, so you can find that, right? So let's just get everybody together. I got a 3x minus x. That is 2x. And then I have a negative 1 and a negative 2, so that's minus 3. Okay. On the other side, I have 2x minus 3x. That's negative 1x. And then 1 plus 1 is 2. Yeah, I think I'm good. No worries. least you're keeping me paranoid. That's good. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the x's on the left. So I'm going to add 1x to here and here, right? It's just algebra, so that's 3x. I want to get rid of the negative 3. I want all the numbers. I always like all my variables on the left, numbers on the right. Add 3, add 3. 3x equals 5. Now, right away, divide. X equals 5/3. Now, how many people here think when they got a fraction, they did it wrong? Okay? I would be one of those people. Fraction? I must have did it wrong. There's no way they'd give me a fraction. Yes, they can give you a fraction. Okay? So X is 5/3. So do you see how hard this was to guess the three numbers? Because even with 5/3, we got some work to do. So how do I find the first three terms? Well, what's T1? Is x plus 2. Do I know what x is? It's 5/3. So I would go 5/3 plus 2. How do you add 5/3 plus 2? Yes, you can use your calculator, but how do I have to do it? Old school up here. No, well, 2 over 1, which I would have to make 6 over 3, right? 2 over 1, we have to get a common denominator, right? So that's got to multiply by 3, which is 6 over 3. So this would be 5 over 3 plus 6 over 3. Remember, addition of fractions, you have to have a common denominator. And 5 plus 6 equals 11. And what's the bottom? 3, not 6, right? So the first number is 11 over 3. I bet you some of you going, hey, that's what I thought it was. Right? Term 2. Term 2 is the nice one. 3 times 5/3 plus or minus 1. Now why is that a nice one? What do the 3's do? Cancel. So 5 minus 1 is 4. And what's T3? 2 times 5/3 plus 1. That is 10/3 plus 1. Now, I got to have a common denominator again. So that's the same thing as 10/3 plus 3/3, which is 13 over 3. So there's my three numbers. 11 over 3, 4, and 13 over 3. Now, this is a great written response question. Come on, you guys have to admit, if you were making an exam, not writing it yourself, you were making an exam, you'd put one of these on there, right? Because you guys aren't in grade 10 anymore. We're not going to use numbers. We've got to use these complicated variables, right? So nobody guessed it before we started. And maybe even some of you are looking right now going, whoa, I still got to ask a few questions about that later. But if you see the routine, always go T2 minus T1 equals T3 minus T2. And this right here, where's my magic pen? Being a new year, my magic pen isn't here. There it is. Okay, watch this. Okay, that right there is the formula you need to know. T3 minus T1, or T2 minus T1 equals T3 minus T2. That is like, will get you through these all the time. Okay, or I could have did this. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Great. Okay, now, what I'm going to show you right now is a question that I'm going to show you 3 ways to do this question. Why I'm going to show you 3 ways to do this question? Because everybody's going to have the way they like. I'm going to show you a common sense way. I'm going to show you a formula. And I'm going to show you a way using stuff you learned last year. Okay, now this one, as you're going to see, if you missed the last class, or this one, you're going to see how hard it will be tomorrow. okay? Like, think about the means and finding those two numbers, right? But everybody has a chance to get it. All these notes are online, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not saying if you miss today, you're done. If you miss today and you don't catch up, you're probably going to have a rough time on tomorrow's quiz. You think? Okay. Now, let's do this one, because I'm going to ask this one too. The third and eighth term of an arithmetic sequence are 12 and negative 18. It says determine the fifth term in this sequence. Okay? So, well, let's draw it out. The third term, 1, 2, the third term is 12, right? So T1, T2, T3, and so I got to go 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's 12. So that's T8. And what am I looking for? T5. This is my unknown. Oops. That's my unknown, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is right now show you the probably common sense way, or the way that would make sense from what we just learned. What I want you to do is you put a box around this, and I want you to ignore all the stuff before it. If you ignore all the stuff before it, what is 12? T1. What is negative 18? Count it out. T6. Okay? Most people would say it's T5. And I say count it out, and then they don't say that anymore. Okay? So now I can do it just like I did it before. I know what A is. Like, what do I need to find T5? I need the difference. Because then I'll just add the difference twice and I'm done. Okay? So, let's do it. I know what Tn is, right? Or T6, that's negative 18 equals what's A? It's 12 plus N, what's N? Look at my red thing. It is 6 minus 1. I have 6 terms times D. Okay, so remember, this is T6 equals A plus N minus 1D. That's the one I'm doing. Okay, so then it's negative 18 equals 12 plus 5D. Subtract 12 to both sides. You'll get negative 30 equals 5D. Okay, just subtract 12. So what is D? Negative 6 equals D. So what is T5? Yeah. So you want to minus 6, you'll get 0. Okay? So what did I do? I chopped off those ones before, and I just renamed my T1 and T6. Okay? Now, so I don't know what more to call this one, but just using common sense. Okay, you're still using a formula, but what about this one? There's an actual formula. I'm going to give it to you. It is D equals T Q minus TP all over Q minus P. That's the Q, little q. Okay? Now, what does this mean? Okay? Whenever you're given something like above, always put the last term, which is negative 18 minus the first term that you know is 12. 18 minus 12. And negative 18 is with which term? The 8th minus the 3rd. Okay? So negative 18, this is negative 30 over 6, which is, 5, I should say, which is negative 6. Now, once you know, that's finding D again, and then you could just put D in. So it is faster. That's the advantage. What's the disadvantage of this one? It's a formula. You have to memorize it. You will forget it in 5 months. Guarantee it. Okay? But if you would just remember to put a box around it and then renumber it, you can use the formula you already know. Okay? This is not on the formula sheet, this. And just know that negative 18 was the last number. It was the 8th. Negative 18 and 8. Do you see how these two are together? And these two are together. So negative 18 was the 8th term minus the 12 was the 3rd term. And it gives you D, and then you can put it in instantly. Okay? Now, we're going to use systems of equations. Now, you've done this before. So, do you see this is the same question we had before? But I'm going to show you using the formula Tn equals A plus N minus 1 D. Okay, so I'm going to do negative 18 first. I'm going to put negative 18 in. That would be negative 18 equals A, I don't know it, plus N. N is the 8th term. Okay, so everybody get how I made that. I do not know D and I do not know A. I know the 3rd and the 8th term. Now I'm going to do the math for the 3rd term. 12 equals A plus 3 minus 1 D. Everyone with me so far? Now, I just want to rewrite these equations right beside it because I want to get away from what, like 8 minus 1. That just looks ugly. Why don't I just call that 7? So, negative 18 equals A plus 7D, and 12 equals A plus 2D. Do you see those are the same equations? Instead of 8 minus 1, I put a 7. Now, you'll remember this from last year. What I want to do is I'm going to take the top one and subtract it from the bottom one. Okay, you remember those? All you do is take the top one and subtract it from the bottom. What is negative 18 minus 12? Negative 30. What is A minus A? No, A minus A is 0A, which is 0. What is 7D minus 2D? 5D, and then you just do the algebra. Okay? Divide by 5, divide by 5, negative 6 equals D. Okay? So I gave you 3 ways to do, basically, example 8. Example 9 was the 3rd way. Okay? This is called the system of equations. Okay, so you can use the common sense way, you can use the formula way, or the systems of equations way. They all work. Okay? Okay, so we're doing 1 to 20, but A, C, E, dot, dot, dot. So just do every second letter within the questions. Okay? So it actually cuts the homework in half. Okay, so remember, we're going to get right to work, nice and quiet. If you made notes, little arrows, I don't get it, what do you do here, how come this worked, then come up to me anytime during class and I'll help you. Okay, so today, I guess we want to make that perfect day, right? Got 100 on your quiz. Hopefully, you got the notes and understood them. And get your homework done in class. That's a perfect day. I forgot I was still recording. You guys probably forgot to, hey? So as you see, all I do, again, just scroll through the homework, so people are at home right now. Because I think you can see we did learn a lot today.